Books are great. Your mama was right. Sorry. If you've seen my previous videos, you might see me reading a book for 3 minutes straight or just taking my time off the phone screen without a glance and just locked into my book without glancing left or right. It's how I've been unoptimizing to cure my fried brain, and it has helped me to get my brain back to the point that reading has become a habit, and I was able to think for myself rather than let the AI keep thinking for me to the point I'd be gullible and doom scroll my way. So I was able to not only recover my critical thinking, but maintain it well so far too. This journey back to reading was not a one night thing where I suddenly loved reading. And don't worry, I won't tell you what you should do and that I'm going to force you to read because some self help books tell you. This is genuine advice on how to rewire your brain to love reading a lot more than the phones that pages look more exciting than scrolling. A little bit of backstory, I wouldn't really call myself a big reader when I was a kid. I was a huge YouTube fan and gamer. The only time I was reading was because there were reading times in school. So I was there to witness the golden age of the internet when Niga Higa and Smosh were competing to be the most subscribed YouTubers and when video games were really fun. So as you can see here, I ditched literature for the internet. Then when YouTube began scrambling its algorithms, I became a little bit bored with YouTube and I kind of lost interest in some of the games when I entered college. Then at some point during my freshman year, I tried giving reading a shot after that. And because I was a noob reader when I was at college, meaning I wasn't into fancy words like the Lord of the Rings back then, I read self-help first. Simple to read and simple to understand. But at one point, like Game of Thrones season 8 happened, and I was so frustrated that I wanted to flush out the memories of the show by reading the books. That's when I started gaining interest in literature slowly. I began reading The Lord of the Rings again, like Narnia, Mistborn, and many more. But till this time, TikTok became a thing, so did short form contents, and I began a new habit of doom scrolling, just like everybody else during the pandemic, and ditched reading again. It was great at first until I indulged myself too much with more doom scrolling, more content searching, and then anxiety began creeping in. And I thought scrolling more would help suppress that feeling, but I became even more anxious and more depressed. Before I knew it, when AI came along, there was a time I couldn't even write an opening sentence because I believed AI could do it. But I could also feel the decline in my thinking. I was unable to grasp anything fresh, and I'd resort to the AI and distract myself. My attention span was really bad. And using AI was the one that made me realize that my brain was fried. Not only were we getting stuff in an instant, but my brain was also refusing to think clearly because it's been overstimulated. And I sought the AI to do it for me so I could go back to doom scrolling. I was really disappointed with myself and I knew it had to change because my brain wasn't doing what it's supposed to do. And there's like a thinking block that made me depend so much on these technologies rather than using my brain. It's like a double combo to make me stupid, and I felt even dumber after that. But ever since I've broken out of that habit and made reading my new habit, I began to enjoy reading a lot more than scrolling. I'm less anxious and I don't care about whatever petty news is out there online. And best of all, I was able to grasp my thoughts on writing articles or any pieces of writing like this instead of relying too much on AI, and I won't get distracted. If you're also struggling to read just as I was, here are the things I did that might be able to help you be more interested in reading than scrolling after your brain was fried by the algos. Now, before I share with you what I did, I want to share with you again why reading is the best choice to cure the algo brain. I normally would recommend video games such as Minecraft, and honestly, that would be the first step in curing the algo brain. But in this case, we're learning to get our eyes away from screens, and sometimes the PC could be another alternative. I would be okay if you play Minecraft, and I've done that, but that itself can become an addiction over time, and you might get stuck in the void of not stopping to play. So you may have known how reading is very beneficial to you, and it's why it's been one of school's curriculums to do better in your studies. Reading helps you expand your use of vocabulary, learn to be articulate, and helps your brain to be more focused and trains your memory. Now the problem is, doom scrolling takes these essential exercises away. This is why when you doom scroll, not only will you get tired, but you won't be able to articulate what you want to say a lot. And I've seen this happening to people who kept doom scrolling. People who used to be able to say full sentences, suddenly they just say two simple things, like ChatGPT does, or whatever is in their minds, doesn't seem to match what they want to say. Hence the word brain rot. You train your brain to demand new information every 3 to 5 seconds and then forget whatever you watched 2, 3 scrolls ago. I bet you won't even remember what you saw 5 scrolls ago. This is why reading can help cure the brain rot part. When you sit down with a physical book, not through a screen, there's no algorithm waiting to give you like a quick dopamine hit every 3 seconds so that you'll stay glued there. There's no timeline to refresh, no notifications, and no fast paced edits. It forces your brain to do the exact opposite of what doomscrolling does to you. You're allowed to slow down and you take your time to read and develop your own critical thinking and focus rather than gullibly absorb what people say just because they uploaded their videos on YouTube or on other platforms. Almost kind of like this, but I'm letting you form your own opinions. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Hence the purpose of this video. We want to regain our brains, think clearly, and more focused rather than having short attention span and have an algorithmic brain. The issue is that it's kind of fried and so optimized to love whatever the algorithm pushes us to see. And therefore, I'm going to share you what I did to unoptimize my brain and made reading more fun than scrolling. Note that these are my strategies. If you have other ways to unoptimize, do let me know. So anyways, first, as I've said many times in my previous videos, I decided I wouldn't care about any petty news. I won't care about what's getting viral. I won't care about something that'll only last for 1 or 2 years. And I won't care if it won't affect my life. I'll only watch news that'll actually affect me, like inflation, gas prices, and stuff like that. Whatever viral stuff going out there or what's trending, I wouldn't touch that. Then, this is going to sound strange, but I would learn to imagine myself like those classic figures from the Renaissance or the 50s, such as Tolkien or Da Vinci, who were so articulate and innovative. I don't know why, like when you see in movies that had settings back in those days, people seem to be more sophisticated, well-educated, more curious to explore their imaginations and go beyond their specialty, in opposition to doing something that works. Because of them, I learned to be more curious about what they were learning. Like these classic people, not only do they read, but they also learn to read myth, the Bible, science, dance, fencing, horse riding, and many more. So they weren't stuck being a specialist or focusing on one thing. They were being polymathic, which is exploring different subjects and skills to learn. This made me so interested in those cultures that I eventually picked up the book myself. So yeah, think of people who live in mansions, fancy rooms, hobbies like Queen Elizabeth, Buckingham style lifestyle. Not though, I don't know how accurate that culture is, but I guess that's how I imagine them since I saw it in movies and books. So think of yourself as an aristocrat, well-educated and sophisticated, who's knowledgeable about things that you learn to advance your skills and think for the long term. Anyways, once I start to learn not to care about petty news and think of myself as the Renaissance aristocrat person, I start looking for stuff that I think I can explore and learn to master and to be better. Something within my capabilities and I have the tool for it. I'll give an example. The first time I want to learn to be a better person was by going to the self-help section to read how people live a better life and be successful. Of course, looking back, these things tend to be snake oils, but I was also learning to slow down and take my time to digest words of wisdoms for my younger self with simple English. Eventually, I got interested in books after books on learning about life, and when I eventually got tired of self-helps, I go to the biography sections, where the choice of words used are a few levels higher. So I'm reading like Ride of a Lifetime, Pixar, Matthew Perry, American Prometheus, and subjects like that that's helpful for my career. I found them a lot more interesting at that time compared to self-helps because these guys applied all the stuff they learned in life to make business decisions, something like that. And finally, after I got tired of reading highlighted moments of people's lives and was ready to read something more immersive, where I got to see the ups and downs of characters with no filters, that's when I finally picked up stuff I loved as a kid, which was fantasy. The subject was what I used to love during my younger days, playing RPG games and watching movies, but now the platform is changed to books, where I can explore my imaginations, slow down, and take the words all in slowly by reading instead of being fed to you on what's happening. I began reading Lord of the Rings, which was really hard, and looking back, I should have started small first, because eventually I read through it not understanding a damn thing, and English wasn't my first language, so I picked something smaller first, like The Hobbit, Mistborn, Ravensgate, all modern writers, so I can get used to these fancy wordings and lore. Eventually, over time, in my mid 20s, I was able to bring myself to read the Lord of the Rings series again, Song of Ice and Fire, Narnia, and the Inheritance Cycle, and basically all the books that were all pre social media era. These types of subjects tend to be a lot more immersive, honest, and creative, so it's like the ultimate guillotine to the phone. They're less optimized, no social media level writing like what we have now, and they were not relying on AI, just pure human imagination, which you can't find on social media. Because of these immersive stories, when I tried going back to social media, I just couldn't bring myself to doom scroll because they became so boring. Like short jokes, dances, virality, like gosh, books can expand the scene after 1 minute. It's a lot more connecting than social media. And that's the story of how I finally rewired my brain to love books a lot more than my phone, which is sitting at a corner of my room. Of course, it may be different from everyone else on why they want to pick up the book, but that's my strategy for getting my brain back. Ignore the news, think of yourself as the people of Renaissance, and read simple stuff first before going to higher level writings with like fantasy. Now, the result from reading as an exercise is that I was able to stop myself from doom scrolling. I mean, I still reached for the phone, but not as much as before. Like, I was able to consciously stop myself instead of losing myself to the scrolls of the algorithms. Another thing that I find is that I can now also write a full article or chapter without depending a lot on AI. So I can grasp my thoughts instead of letting them float and I would lose focus. And as you know, AI is kind of terrible when it comes to tastes. I was able to leverage it. So instead of making it my enemy, I was able to make it my assistant instead of resisting it and work my way around it and able to make my craft more human. And I can ask workflows and cut my administration tasks. Of course, as I mentioned before, there are other ways to unoptimize, and this is one of my methods. There are definitely other ways to kill these addictions, and do share with me on what you guys do to rebel these attention seeking platforms. I'll share some more of those again later. I hope this video helps. Thanks for watching till the end. Be sure to subscribe to support the channel and help another person who wants to unoptimize. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.